What was your best memory of school? We used to play gym kit. The whole CL butt was sitting there playing for about 30 minutes. I was sitting in the corner of course. And this kid was getting 600 meters per question he got right. Everybody was so impressed and treated him like a god. Anyways, the game ends and everybody sees Hez in second place and they're all like, what the duck? K. They see him sitting with 13 billion, meanwhile my antisocial butt is sitting in the corner with 41 billion. I remember I must have been maybe 5, being on top of the playground about to go down the slide, when I see my sister, 8 years older than me, doing cross country around the field. We waved at each other, and it made me happy. This memory seems pretty insignificant, but it's so special. My childhood wasn't full of happiness, but sharing this with my sister, who also remembers, is so nice. Edit. Thanks for the lil shiny award, kind soul. Beating the smartest kid in CL, but B1 mark he got a 96, and I got a 97. But he wasn't spoiled or anything, he was nice. My wild art teacher in middle school forgot to have CL butt with us, and went to pick up mushrooms and wild asparagus in the surrounding woods. When he finally realized we were waiting for him, and the principal was going to come in our CL butt to see where the heck he was. He just climbed inside from the window, we were at ground level, and started his lesson like nothing happened. D. We backed up his butt because he was a nice guy and we didn't want him to get in trouble. E. He basically did half an hour of lesson that day. I asked my first girlfriend to be my girlfriend right after a bully told me I'd never get a girlfriend. I was getting picked on in CL butt and I apparently quoted The Merchant of Venice. My teacher was impressed and everyone left me alone. I only barely knew it was Shakespeare. I was quoting Beast from the X-Men cartoon. I was bullied for almost my entire school life. My 2 best days at school were: 1. When I finally made a friend. He's still my best friend to this day. 2. When my dad went to the principal and told him that the bullying had to stop. The principal answered with, "We can't do anything about it," so my dad told me to kick my bully's teeth in if he bullies me again. The principal looked shocked. Well, I didn't kick his teeth in. I broke his jaw. All throughout grade school I was bullied and teased and had no friends. In fact, when I did make friends, they would soon tell me that they couldn't be seen with me anymore because they would get bullied just for talking to me. When I got to high school, I was selected by my band teacher to be in our school's top orchestra. It was really an honor, and usually only upperclassmen are chosen. I had to put in a lot of work and practice, but the other percussionists took me under their wing and taught me a lot. After our first concert, some of the older, extremely popular orchestra kids invited me to hang out with them at a local restaurant. It was a tradition that at the time few freshmen had ever have been invited to. I had to fight back my tears of joy. My life completely changed that year because of them looking out for me, and by the time I graduated I had more friends than I had ever thought possible. I was in grad school. We annually did something called the Migrant Worker Project, where we would give free medical screenings for migrant workers and their kids. It always seemed to produce something good. Middle of computer programming CL lecture. Didn't notice the guy sitting next to me had stolen my bag. I guess he was hungry because he reached into my lunch and started eating my almonds. So, in the middle of a quiet class, I yelled without even thinking, "Let go of my nuts." We successfully snuck in a PlayStation and connected it to the CL Bud projector somehow and played some basketball game. Good times. Probably the first time I walked into this one CL Bud before school and met my friends for the first time. They were all sitting around just talking about absolute nonsense and welcomed me to join in. We're still friends to this day, 5 or 6 years later. Oh, also, it wasn't high school, but actually primary school. But looking back on it, I had my first crush back then. Oh my lord, I acted like an idiot. In middle school, we would eat lunch really fast and spent the rest of the time playing football in the cafeteria. I don't have a lot of positive memories of school. 7th grade was my worst year because it was right after a horrifically traumatizing event and I couldn't cope very well. Somehow, Someone found it in their heart to become my secret admirer and left me something like 10 notes throughout the year telling me how much they appreciated me. I saved every single note and still get fuzzies thinking about it. I never found out who it was. So for context, I came from an environment where I was constantly put down and abused, despite getting consistent A's in school and having a reading addiction on par with most heroin users' level of addiction. I was constantly told I was stupid and wouldn't amount to anything. When I was 11, in 6th grade in my last year of elementary school, I had one teacher who went out of her way to encourage me. She would ask me to stay after so that she could privately let me know how smart she thought I was, how much my love of reading would help me later in life, how proud and impressed she was with my creative approaches to projects, and recommend books well above my grade level that she thought I'd enjoy. She waited until after CL, but the course kids already bullied my socially anxious butt about being a nerd or teacher's pet for answering questions in class. I think she had her suspicions regarding what I dealt with at home. But it was the 90s, so unless I outright reported something out loud, she couldn't really do anything. She even gave me tips to help with my insomnia. She was the first person in my 11 years of life to openly believe in me and be encouraging. Thank you, Mrs. Cantrell. I'm and still is bullied. Once some dude slapped me in the face in 3rd grade and he fell off the stairs, freaking karma. And yes, I did laugh. In like year 5, our history topic was WW2, and during random parts of the class, our teacher would let off a pretend air raid siren, and we would have to get under the tables. That CL button teacher is the reason I became obsessed with history! Exclamation mark. Back in middle school, my friends and I were all eating lunch. One of them got the idea to pretend his single serving cardboard milk carton was a plane and pretended to fly it around like said plane. He accidentally dumped the entire milk plane on another friend's head. When a teacher saw this, they got upset and told the boy covered in milk to clean up his mess and stop messing around. Frustrated that the boy that dumped milk on his head didn't get told to clean it up, he stood up and chucked the milk carton across the lunch hall, only to have a yogurt returned. Then you just saw burritos, burgers, pizza and all sorts of food just flying through the air. Started a legit food fight. Caused an assigned seating chart for the entire school at lunch and RCL, but the reputation of being a hollows up until we graduated high school. Edit, typos. When I was an undergraduate in college, I took a journal editing CL but, and part of the CL but was to write an academic review of a scholarly war. I did it. Was really happy with how it turned out. When we got to NCL but peer review, it was anonymously and unanimously destroyed. Edition. Issues with writing style. Sentence structure. Passive voice. Everything. NG. It was the lowest rated, needed 8 revisions to be published. Edition. I took the same CL but with the same professor at the end of my master's program. When we did the book review portion, the entire CL but read all of the reviews anonymously and gave feedback back. Mine was ranked number 1 this time. No issues. Everything was really clear. Easy to understand. I have a hard time listening to criticism of my own work, but when everyone in the CL but listed the top 3, and agreed without question Review D is easily the best one and needs the fewest edits, I'm still riding high on that. When I missed all the signs, so she gave me a short kiss. We still together after 6 years. I always loved writing stories, so one of the best moments is when our teacher decided to give us pictures and write little stories with them. Another time, same CL but different year, is when we went through how to write stories. I didn't need to do drafts for my story. He said 2-page story, I ended up writing 6. I hiccuped in my algebra to CL but in high school during an exam. I'm really small and therefore my hiccups are high-pitched lol. Everyone including the teacher couldn't help but smirk a little endearingly. I heard people say that was so cute or AWW lol. My school was really cliquey, and it was nice to see everyone for 1 second not act like the role they were meant to be playing towards me. Additionally, I usually kept to myself in HS and was really starved for love, so it was nice to be the center of attention in a positive way and receive verbal affection for once. It's sad to think this stuck with me so much, but I'm just glad I'm not so alone anymore lol. Spring of my senior year of high school. I was talking with my friends about childhood games and which ones we missed. I said that tag was my favorite game, and one of my friends just reached over and hit me on the shoulder before running off. By the end of lunch not only was my entire group playing tag, so had a bunch of other people. It really was like being a kid again, just running around and having fun with your friends. Was 13 to 14 and going to do pep. The boys' changing rooms were next to the girls' changing room, and as I walked past the girls' one, I looked in to see both the inner door and outer door were open. I got my first view of boob. These girls were in my year, so about my age. Bunking CL butt and roaming around campus acting like kings. Sticking a frog in a freezer to show how their hibernating has limits. Probably not the best, but one of the most memorable. I remember in 2nd or 3rd grade my teacher asked us the difference between a personal and a private story/memory. According to the CL/BUT census, private was something you would write in a diary, like a crush, whereas personal was something that could be shared, but is still meaningful to you. She then asked us to write an essay about a personal event/memory of a family member, and had each of us share what we chose. All of my classmates chose typical cute things like baking with my mom, going on a vacation with my family, and having fun at an amusement park. You know what I chose? The time my mom had cancer. The poor panicked look on my teacher's face as she tried to process what I just said was something I would never forget. So that's the story of how I, not fully grasping the idea that there are things you just shouldn't share, made a teacher reevaluate her career choice. 5th grade. Homeschool co-op. Our teacher, Miss Virginia, was teaching us the motions that went with the song about history we were learning that week. One of those motions involved kicking. We were singing about how Saddam Hussein got kicked out of Kuwait during the Gulf War, and her sandal flew off and hit the ceiling. Fun times. School exchange trip between Florence and Bonn. When we went to Germany, we had good times. I remember coming back with enough Haribo sweets for an entire year. I was in high school, doing theater. We had done a show that was meant for kids, and we were going to the various elementary schools in town and putting a show on for the kids. After the show one day, we ended up playing Truth or Dare using an app from someone's phone, and I got dared to aggressively kiss this one girl. I was so afraid she'd freak out and say hell no or something, but she came to me so we could kiss. It was my first kiss, and it was pretty good. But apparently it wasn't aggressive enough for our group. We locked lips again, and she started to make out with me. We made out for a good 20 seconds or so. It was incredible. I still think about that kiss from time to time. My first kiss with my now ex-boyfriend. He was my first crush, and I felt like the luckiest girl in the entire school. Like he chose me over the more popular, prettier girls. It felt like a massive duck you to those who thought no one would want me. Plus he was, and still is, gorgeous. When I realized how ahead I was from everyone else at math in 3rd grade BC of myself practicing on my multiplication and division tables in 2nd grade. Either that or making my regent studying all worth it in the end, by getting both algebra and earth science scores over 95%. It helped me to realize how capable I can be in school if I gave a shit on doing well. I hate to use the term, but I was quite popular in school when I was about 14 to 16. So I had many friends, and I was pretty good when it came to social skills. I didn't care what people thought of me. I didn't think as much of mortality as I do now that I'm growing up. Everything was simply just fine, and I was at peace with myself. Boom, everyone left and went to other schools, and I went from being an extrovert to 100% introvert. Diagnosis: I got some of that. The person I've become now is not who I was meant to be when I look back at how I was back in the days in school. The last day of school before summer vacation. getting your yearbook, then going to hang out with your friends with the whole summer to look forward to. The day I was allowed not to go. I grew up in Russia and we didn't get expelled for skipping classes. I hated school and my mom allowed me not to go if I didn't want to. I was a straight A student, so keeping up was not a problem for me. Thank God I graduated and don't have to go back. In grade 4 I joined the basketball team with my friends and I loved it. I don't mean to flex on anyone, but I don't think we lost a game. That is until we got to the tournament. Us along with another team were undefeated. We lost that game, but it was a lot of fun playing. We came in second at that tournament. I did 2 undergrad degrees and a master's. The moment my thesis defense concluded, my advisory team left the room, and I was just going to clean up my stuff. I collapsed in a chair and started sobbing and laughing at the same time. I've never experienced such bliss in my life. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.